Great. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Game Souk. We are live from West Palm Beach. Mike and I are here together, which is exciting. We have a lot to talk about today, so we're going to go quickly through it. I asked Mike to start with a little bit of a market update, kind of a check-in on where we are. Also, there's some SpaceX news. There's some crazy Allbirds news. And then we're going to go to Eliza, who joined live briefly from Marseille last week, but this week she's going to give us a full rundown on Cartoon Next. So, Mike, go ahead.
We're seeing a pretty big rebound in risk across all asset classes, and certainly in the crypto world and even in gaming related stuff. Basically, the market is looking through on the one hand, the Iran conflict and everything related to the Strait, and sort of assuming we have resolution in the same sense as it were that we talk about the administration being bored of this conflict, the market is bored of this conflict and is moving on. And that's regardless of what you think of that, it's what's happening. So we've seen huge retracement, particularly in software, where we've talked a lot over the last, let's call it 2 months, about software being punished by the AI phenomenon. But we now have it's very painful for market participants who've either are undergrossed, meaning they don't have enough risk on, or for those in the hedge fund community who've been short software. This is the sort of reversal that people just have had to buy into. So I don't want to opine as to how much legs it has, but the sorts of stories we've seen, even in the meme world, that have worked in the past are all of a sudden starting to work again. Two things to mention there. One, yesterday, Allbirds, the sneaker company, which was on the verge of liquidating, announced that they're going to become an AI chip servicing company, and the stock promptly 7x'd, 700% up yesterday on that. A lot of that is a short squeeze, so don't overread it. But both those pivots remain possible, and a market like this is embracing and is meaningful. The other thing I wanted to mention, because we've been talking about capital markets a lot and the SpaceX IPO coming up, the SpaceX is going to have some competition because it looks like Amazon is going to buy Globalstar, and that will put them in, obviously not at the scale of Starlink, but that will put them into the low Earth orbit game for their LEO product, and that could stand up a real competitor over the next, several years. It's not next year's business. But I think that's going to be very, very important to seeing new players at scale in space is a very important theme in the market, and going to be very important to capital markets this year, as SpaceX will be the biggest thing coming out in the first, it'll probably be July, but in the
It definitely feels like these big deals are taking up a lot of the air in the room, and so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Eliza, over to you on Cartoon Next, and also some really interesting animation news this week.
Yes, actually. So Cartoon Next is, and the whole Cartoon Events is Europe's own cartoon and entertainment event. It was really exciting to see because Cartoon Next is focused on transmedia gaming and the convergence and what is next in animation. We got pitches from young creatives, where I was an expert on, and as well we had talks from various European producers, broadcasters, and creatives in the space. So we were shown what's happening with AI. We discussed that area. But what I found was very interesting is that we're seeing a increased, should you say, divide between the culture of UGC and legacy media, and a clear sort of, I would say from the creatives who pitched standpoint, a real confusion as to where they're supposed to be spending their time and how to build their businesses, because of the fact that legacy media is closing its doors, it is stagnating, and it's not being able to invest in these creative projects the same way. And the ones who are sort of winning and keeping at the forefront, managing to make headway, are those who are moving digital first and UGC. And it was so great to see that it going out there, and I was advocating for digital first all along the way. It to me, the real issue here is a cultural shift, one where legacy media has not brought on an iterative approach or a community building scenario at all. And we've got almost 20 years of YouTube experience to draw from on what works for these businesses. And what we're seeing is that shift is paying off. So the news was in Cartoon Brew and a Gizmodo article that explained that 61% of animation fans prefer YouTube created original series and animation to those created by studios and broadcasters on SVODs. So, and that means the consumption of including animatics, really like raw formats. And this really, I think, speaks to what we've been seeing across the board when we're talking about UGC, Roblox, UEFN, is that part of it is being part of the process of watching something become the thing that it's supposed to be, and getting to sort of feel like you're a part of its success from an audience point of view. And that is, that is one part of the story, is from the audience. There's a little bit more affinity because, they become fans, they feel like they lifted it up. But on the other side of the coin, it is that you're getting real feedback. You can pivot your projects, you can adjust, you can create to this. And so, legacy media is not managing to create their production pipelines and their business structures at this very moment to meet this. But it is interesting to see that when I talk to the BBC, they are putting a large focus on their digital first and their YouTube strategies moving forward. And it did seem like Paramount and others are making huge efforts to consolidate and to find and to strategize in a way that would be more cohesive transmedia across the board. So that is interesting to see. We'll all see how fast everybody can move to meet this moment.
Can we talk a little bit about Amazing Digital Circus? Because I think it's so interesting that you tried to create the card, our opening card, all of us inspired by Amazing Digital Circus, and the algorithm didn't, or the model hasn't been trained on this, but yet this is huge. Tell us about it.
This is, you're so right to point that out. This is another factor here in why young creatives are going to succeed in comparison to legacy media. Now, AI has been trained on huge swaths of Disney content, anime, and so all of these like really commercial, high-level production styles will start to look like AI slop, and they'll be devalued. And so this Digital Circus, which comes really from its own skew, Roblox inspired, partially Webtoons inspired, because a lot of the YouTube storytellers have used either comic book or Webtoons or, really strong, big, bold faces to emote and tell their stories, which generated its own style. And so far, the algorithms are not training on it, which is great. And this is where, you can kind of tell authenticity versus generated. And we have seen that AI is being generated with anime is being generated with near perfection in generative video, which is interesting because recently Crunchyroll, of course, has been taking a center stage, and anime is winning the hearts and minds of youth culture. But that is, to me, only because of the stakes. There are real stakes, there are real storytelling. And what has happened in legacy media is that they've, gone after safety and kind of, pushed down the stakes in order to stay brand safe and to not ruffle any feathers. And in so doing, essentially created material that nobody's interested or engaged in.
Okay, great. Well, on that theme, let's go to James on Roblox. I feel like there are so many things here we can talk about, but there were actually a couple of big announcements this week. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, there's been a few big announcements, actually. So at the start of the week, or the back end of last week, I should say, they introduced Roblox Plus, essentially getting rid of Roblox Premium, which is the subscription model they've had for like 9-10 years, like a long time. What they're moving it to is a subscription where you can get discount in games, and that doesn't impact developers. So Roblox are saying that, hey, if you go and buy X item in game 1, we'll give you 10% discount if you have the subscription. and they're going to cover the loss basically to the developer. What the developer can get in return is essentially if they prompt the player to get, Roblox Plus, then they are going to get a cut of that as well. They're going to give you 750 Robux, which is nice, I guess, for like the conversion of that. They're also allowing players to have like free private servers on games that support private servers. So like currently right now, developers can charge anywhere from like 10 Robux to like 1,000 Robux for a private server. And Roblox is saying that they'll cover it for, the player. The downside to that is if you have an experience or a game that, you normally charge 200 Robux for a private server, they're only covering up to 100 Robux. But I will say I don't know many games that I know a few, but not many. So I don't think that's going to be a massive detriment. So it's really good, I think, the plus that they're sort of introducing, with the final sort of thing they're introducing being the ability to send Robux to friends without fees. So right now, if I wanted to send, Miles some Robux to like buy, an item that he really wants, Roblox is going to take a 30% cut. And so they're actually getting rid of that cut, and you can only send it directly to your friends. And the most important thing is you can't DevX this if it's sent to you and gifted to you. And I'm assuming that is probably there to stop black market stuff and money laundering and all that type of stuff. So that's actually a really nice addition that they've done. So they started the week really strong. But as ever with Roblox, they like to go downhill quickly. So a couple of days later, they introduced a lot of new safety features, and they're actually going to be splitting everyone down into different age groups. So they're introducing Roblox Kids, which is for anyone that is 8 or under, under the age of 9, so 8 or under. And that's going to be limited to minimal and mild content. So in terms of the rating, minimal is, super friendly. Mild is normally if there is, I don't know, like a push mechanic in a game. So, it's mild. It's not really bad. And all chat is going to be disabled by default, which I think everyone is kind of fine with. As an 8-year-old, you don't really need to be talking to anyone on the internet. Then they've introduced this middle group called Roblox Select, which is ages 9 to 15. That is, you have access to broader content. It's still curated, so you can only see up to moderate. So you wouldn't be able to see very scary horror games, which again is like not horrendous. And then there's the standard chat settings. What they mean by that is you have to age verify either with ID or with the AI to just see what age group you're in, and the normal age restrictions come into play. So if you're 15, you can only talk to like 14 to 17-year-olds and so on and so forth, whatever they are. The biggest one being once you turn 16, you are classed as a Roblox player, which is great. But the biggest drawback that they're receiving is now when you publish a game, you can't publish it to everyone. You can only publish it to 16 plus to begin with, and there's no way to target like younger users. So if you are wanting to build, say, a Bluey game, you have to target it to 16 plus users to begin with. And then after 2 weeks of moderation that is coming from Roblox to make sure it's safe for younger users, you have to have Roblox Plus, the subscription we were talking about. So you have to have like the $4.99 a month subscription to be able to advertise to younger players. There's a lot of pushback on the subscription, which I have said on Twitter I don't think is horrendous. I think the majority of developers I know already pay for Roblox Premium anyway. And you can still publish for free to 16 plus anyway, which arguably is the demographic that spends the most anyway. So you could probably make $5 and then advertise it to everyone, right? But the biggest sort of pushback is that 2-week period. So if you are trying to make a Bluey game, we'll stick with Bluey, it's going to be really, 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 really difficult for you to target it to an audience that is older enough to get through moderation to then target it to younger users like very quickly. So that I think is the biggest block. I don't think the $4.99 is really as big a deal as some people are making out. I do think that period of moderation is very difficult. And then the last thing on sort of safety in this announcement they've done is they are moving to the PEGI rating system in the UK. So like PEGI 18, PEGI 16, stuff like that. And then I think it's called the ESRB in the US, but basically just falling in line with traditional gaming. So currently they use their minimal, mild, moderate sort of ratings. They're moving to a more traditional sort of sense. So some pretty big announcements from Roblox this week.
Yeah, I mean, and last week we had the we had the makeup announcement that this makeup feature is coming, and that's actually inspired our card today, because we also learned that Elf sponsored that. Is that the way we read that? I mean, it was interesting because they got rid of classic faces. There's so much controversy and discussion and a little bit of drama in the Roblox community when any of these changes are made. Classic faces, we all were pretty upset about that, but it is a sign to me that of just how powerful this platform is, because each person, like player or developer, feels like it's theirs, which is what you want to see in a platform, you know. And so it is interesting. But anyway, tell us what you think about this, the Elf thing, because I was a little disappointed to see that, because I thought, wait a second, people didn't want to get rid of classic faces, and then they roll out makeup, and then it's sponsored by Elf. Did Elf start this whole thing of getting rid of classic faces?
Yeah, so I think, the biggest thing to take away is the community didn't want to lose classic faces, and I am a big believer there's no reason for them to get rid of them. They could have introduced these new animated faces, which, some of them do look great, and people would use them. So, I think it's very similar to when they introduced Arthro, which is the humanoid body, like 6 or 7 years ago now, and people haven't really taken it up. Some people do, but most don't. And so I think that was, naive of them. I do feel like there was maybe some pressure from maybe Elf, maybe other external beauty brands and stuff like that, because you do see a lot of beauty brands spending on the platform in terms of ads, but it's really hard for them to advertise their facial products because it's on a classic face. It just doesn't look as good as animated. And so I can see that. And, Roblox constantly trying to be profitable, constantly trying to be a vessel for brands that they probably need to make some changes. And I think, unfortunately, this is a very typical Roblox corporate change where they don't listen to the community.
I do want to point out the road ahead here, if that is their thinking, that they wish to attract more brands and therefore will change their core aesthetics and their core design to meet that market. It has long been a scenario where brands prefer Fortnite and prefer the more hyper-realistic scenarios because the one-to-one look between their product, in reality to the game, just seems to work for them in their heads. And I wouldn't say, I would say to the they're again making a mistake in
their heads is the key.
In their head, it's in their heads, because actually the audience absolutely sees the likeness. And you can have Mickey Mouse wear something, and several times Mickey Mouse has almost made those things the most cool moments when we've gotten the sort of cartoonified version of something iconic. And so that product design does translate, especially if you're iconic, so to me, it's a misnomer. It's constantly being misunderstood. Hyperrealism does not equal better. And in today's markets, it's never been more true. It's just, especially considering that the AI hyperrealism is a real thing that is just going to increase this sentiment in the audience.
It's funny. I was gonna say something very similar, Eliza. I think this is one of the very few times Roblox could draw and learn a lesson from what Fortnite is doing. I think the reason Fortnite has the trust of some IP like Star Wars is Star Wars knows that Epic's team is going to be the one making all of those assets, right? So there's this quality, this kind of through line that because Epic is in charge of it, they're bringing to the platform. And obviously we want Epic to eventually allow people to make their own skins. That is the beauty of Roblox, is everyone's a creator, even at that level. But I think it would have been more interesting, keep the classic faces. Roblox, why don't you roll out your own premium cosmetics that is like you are in charge of, you can charge more for them, but you're in charge of bringing, elf Nyx onto the platform, like, and they're animated and they're like higher quality and they look awesome. And, maybe, I don't know how they sell, if they sell well or if people prefer classics, but like, I think elf would love that if they're like slated into this like premium, gold standard Roblox asset that only Roblox can make, or, exclusive creators have the ability to work with elf, the top UGC creators. I think that would have been more interesting instead of just forcing everyone to, adjust.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier this morning, and totally agree with you, Miles. This is something that Epic is doing very differently than Roblox, and I think they're going to win. Not win versus Roblox, but I think they're going to win themselves. And I think this is something that would make Elf happy too. Like you said, Elf is a very innovative brand. They seem to be, first to a lot of kind of experimental digital spaces. And I don't think that they would have wanted this kind of shadow of people thinking, wait, did Elf get rid of something that the community loves, right?
I mean, they've created this amazing free market. Why are they afraid? Why do they not have the confidence in their products and in what their vision is to let the free market decide? That to me is like when you're going in then with a little bit of a mob gangster ownership aspect, that we can curve this to our favor. It just creates mistrust, and ultimately that's a bad look.
Yeah.
Angie, sorry, really quickly before we move on, there was something came out last night as well. So Roblox have actually reached a settlement with the state of Nevada. There's obviously, 142 lawsuits out against Roblox at the moment across the world, a lot of them in the US. And they settled, so no litigation or anything like that. Out of the 12 million, 10 million is going into children's programs in Nevada over the next 3 years to like spend on minor safety online and like to help educate the staff at like law enforcement and stuff like that. So I think that's maybe the start of multiple things that are going to come out. I'm going to assume that means more to you guys in the US because I don't necessarily know what that means for Nevada and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's. So we were way in the weeds on Roblox, and Keshav, you want to share some headlines, and I know Miles, you have to run a little bit early. Was there anything else you want to add before you cut out?
Yeah, super briefly. I think on the Fortnite end, and I think this is a nice through line. So today, Fortnite has shipped one of the more important creator-focused updates. Basically, people can now... We've been talking about how Fortnite creators haven't been able to make custom items yet. What does that mean? That means like they've been using every weapon, every item, everything that Fortnite themselves have ever made for a Battle Royale season. That's what we've had access to use, right? So we haven't been able to go and make our own unique potion that has unique, like a unique look to it, a unique effect. Like we haven't been able to do that. We've been able to bootleg that, but not at like an actual granular level. And that's coming out today. So now we can make, progressive systems. We can do, better player-driven economies. It's honestly so important to be able to make like an actual game on the platform. So this is a really big moment, and I think, to me, it's another kind of underscore of how far behind, and how early Fortnite is in creating their ecosystem, when we're talking about them versus Roblox, right? Like Roblox is truly, a mature ecosystem, a mature UGC ecosystem, a growing one, too. But like the fact that Fortnite is just now, today, April 16th, getting custom items, and we haven't had that yet, is pretty insightful. Just to where we are in the stage of the ecosystem. So it's exciting. I'm excited to see what creators kind of do with that, because now they can really kind of get creative. And yeah, it's a big moment.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go to Keshav. A huge report came out, and he's going to boil it down for us into some quick headlines, but big picture, Roblox is winning, right?
Yep. Like very similar to the underlying sentiment and all the
Oh
other
wait, before you
reports.
get started, are you going to share your screen, or should I?
Oh yeah, sure. I could do that.
Okay, go ahead.
Pull it up. Okay, do you guys see my screen now? Is it still loading? Yeah? All right. So I think this has been a point of conversation for us for now, for 4 or 5 Game Souk since Matthew Wall's report came out, where he highlighted how gaming has grown because Roblox has grown. And I think now we see that in all the other data and these gaming reports that come out. So Newzoo's 2026 gaming report's out. And according to that report, Roblox is the #1 game in overall playtime across platforms. So that includes PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And Roblox has become #1. Last year in the same report, it was at #3, but now it's come up to #1. Fortnite's moved down one place, and you've got Minecraft coming in at 4th. So out of the top 4 that you see now, 3 of them are huge UGC platforms. So I think in line with what Eliza has been hearing at Cartoon Next and then everything else that we've discussed over the last 3 months, I feel like these numbers definitely put more context to everything that we've discussed. Similarly, I think across PC, Roblox #1, Fortnite and Minecraft at 4 and 5. Then you've got Fortnite at #2 on Xbox, and then Minecraft and Roblox at 3 and 4. So it looks like all of these UGC platforms are now the top 5 with the highest playtime share across whatever mode gaming is using. And I think that is the new story. And I think that's what the underlying statement was from Matthew Wall as well, that UGC is that next wave in gaming, which is providing the growth as well as dominating the charts across platforms. But yeah, that's a quick one. Maybe we could get into details next week. Yep.
Okay, awesome. And Xandros, we're going to go to you. You and I have been in the ZK Proofs rabbit hole working on this report. You've been leading that effort. We got some news out this week. Give us a preview, and then we said last week we were going to have the report out. We're definitely going to have the report out after World Day, which I'm traveling to today. So I'll be in San Francisco for the World Foundation big day tomorrow. And yeah, over to you. What happened in Europe this week?
Yeah, so definitely just a preview of this because we're still learning exactly what this means. But the EU announced that they're launching an age verification app that will allow developers and platforms to use that app directly to verify the user's age, instead of requiring users to upload IDs and identification every time they want to identify themselves on an app. On the one hand, this is great because it centralizes the process and it avoids having a user have to upload their ID over and over again. If this is adopted by platforms and developers, it's not mandatory as long as you're using a system that is equally, as I think the word they used was, accurate. In their official statement, this is what's interesting and what we have to look into more. They do say that users will quote, prove their age without revealing any other personal information. Put simply, it is completely anonymous. Users cannot be tracked. And what this means is once you verify your age with information once on the app, it doesn't have to happen again, which is what we've been advocating for with ZK proofs. Again, it's fairly new news, so we don't exactly know what technology they're using to achieve this. We're going to look into it over the next week, and we can come back to it next week because I think it's a big topic worth discussing.
Awesome. Okay, well, we're going to wrap there, everyone. And I forgot to mention in the beginning, these are our personal views. These are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any security. And we may hold positions in the companies that we mentioned. And I think that's a wrap. So we will see you all next week. Have a wonderful rest of the week and good weekend. And thanks for joining.
Bye.